exec, el exec, el exec. El Vélez, el Vélez, el Vélez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? How we doing? Episode 81 of the Exec Talk. I am your host, El Velez, here on this Super Bowl, post-Super Bowl reaction, breakdown. We're going to get into how Mike Macdonald stole Ryan Grubb from Alabama to go to the Seattle Seahawks to be his OC. That's crazy, but the craziest thing is the Super Bowl, baby. The craziest thing is the Super Bowl. We're going to get into the awards, the NFL honors, have all that teed up, but let's start from what a game. What a game. I was on pins and needles from snap one. I remember I picked the Chiefs. Pins and needles from snap one. First quarter. First drive. McCaffrey fumble. First one in 400 touches. Chiefs get the ball. 3 and out. 49ers get the ball. Moving the ball. We're moving the ball. Oh. Field goal. Longest field goal in Super Bowl history up to that point. 56. The funny thing about this is that was in the second quarter because the first quarter was 0-0. Now this game ended 25-22. My score was 28-24 if I remember. So I was close. But weird score, 25-22. Weird score. But there was some weird things that happened. Such an encompassing homologation and accumulation of beautiful football this year was that game. And just like Patrick said it, that was a microcosm of their season. First half, 3 points. It doesn't look like it's going well. Can't get the running game good. Getting pressured. His clock is too fast. He's running out the pocket too quick. They're not letting him move up in the pocket. They sacked him twice. Made him rush, inadvertently, what my mom calls technical sacks, where he got like 3-4 yards, but it was basically as a defense mechanism. And Purdy, the lights weren't too bright for him. Played his game. But in these games, as so much we realize, as much as offense we look at and the numbers and the stats and the players on the field, defense wins championships. And the Kansas City Chiefs won this Super Bowl and this whole run through the playoffs. They rode Steve Spagnuolo and that defense. Okay? That defense is scary. You know why? It's the youngest defense in the NFL. It was the youngest defense in the NFL last year. 2 Super Bowls, back to back. Now, I would expect you guys to, as you guys know, I love Mahomes and everything like that. And we'll get to that. We'll get to, praising, the people that got to be praised. But I'm all about the football first. And what that game told me was exactly what I told you guys last week when I made my pick. The AFC road to get to the Super Bowl, it is exponentially harder than the NFC. KC said after this game, once we beat the Baltimore Ravens, who was the best team in the league and the best defense in the league all year, nothing could stop us. And that's how you're supposed to think. Because if you beat the MVP, you beat the guy who was, in the MVP race with Josh Allen on a super run at his house in a cold game after beating Miami in one of the coldest games in NFL history. Then you go to Baltimore, number 1 seed, MVP, unstoppable offense all year. The defense is absolutely historic. beat them. When you go to the Super Bowl, it don't matter who you're facing because they got to beat you and your defense, you know? And to hold Tua, Lamar, Josh, Purdy had the best game against that defense. Purdy, Mr. Relevant, pick 262. Had the best QBR, passer rating against that defense. Not Lamar, not Josh Allen, not Tua. You know, so I think Purdy did his job. He played good enough to win the game, but he didn't take it. And the reason he didn't take it is because the shadow MVP of this game, and what I mean shadow MVP is like if it wasn't for Pat, I could make an argument, and they've said it, you know, on the TV and stuff. Steve Spagnuolo is the MVP of this game. He out-coached Kyle Shanahan in that second half. You know, to hold that team that had been, you know, as of recently, no, they've been falling behind, especially in the playoffs. But, you know, during the season, they were blowing people out and getting leads. But to hold that team, they had 10 at halftime, and to hold them to 12 points in the second half and overtime, it's incredible. It's incredible. And they were holding people under 10 points. So 12, it's a little bit bad, but they held on. You know why they held on? Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed, you know, Pennell, Chanel, you know, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, that defense. And when it came down to those moments, to these moments, to the moments to win the game, make or break situations when you're looking at that game, the third downs, Spags forced Purdy into 3 of 12 on third down. That's it. He stopped McCaffrey. We're going to talk about how Spags did it, but everything you needed to do from a defensive standpoint, he did. Because it's not about stopping somebody. Can you limit them so they're not as effective as they've always been? Because you're not going to stop a guy like CMC. You're not going to stop a guy like Debo, Ayuk. You know, you don't stop these guys. You can limit and restrict them, but you're not stopping them. But this defense showed so much fight. That's why I said they were the best secondary. McDuffie, Sneed, Reed, like they were sticky, man. Sticky on those out routes. You saw the PBUs. You know, you saw the PBU going to Debo in the end zone. That was all by himself. He was playing the ball. He hit the ball. Boom, pass defended. You know? And then Spags, when it comes down to it, this guy lives by the sword and he dies by the sword, but he's blitzing you. He's gonna heat you up on third down in crucial situations with exotic blitzes and amoebas, and you don't know where that shit coming from. The way McDuffie, when Karlaftis took the outside release on his rush to give McDuffie the inside lane through the C gap, the way McDuffie mirrored Karlaftis behind him right before the snap, Purdy couldn't have known he was coming. Now, he could have thought that Spags was going to heat him up because he had done it before, but he didn't feel him until he was in his face. And, you know, we're talking about those third downs. Those third downs were the game. He gets that 3rd and 4. They run it down. They kick the field goal, and it's like last year. Just on the reverse side. It happens to the Chiefs. Same thing in overtime. Chris Jones, unblocked. in the biggest play of the game. A surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest D tackles of all time. Only guy above him is probably, you want to say, Reggie White and Aaron Donald. I'll be okay, I understand. But other than that, this guy's a game wrecker, and he's wrecked every single Super Bowl. We said it. Watch Chris Jones in the fourth quarter. He'll do something. Well, he did it in the fourth quarter, and he did it in overtime. And I look tame because I've swallowed, I've swallowed like the excitement of last night. And I wanted to do it very composed because I want to give you both sides of the story. I love Mahomes, love Kelsey, love Andy Reid. But man, gotta feel for Kyle. This is what you're going to be known for. You're going to be known for as the Doc Rivers of the NFL. Blown lead 28-3 Super Bowl against Brady as an offensive coordinator. And then you blow 2 leads to Patrick Mahomes in the second half. Late third quarter. So let's look at the box score. Okay? And let's dissect what happened. First of all, Mahomes. We're going to talk about him later, but he finally crossed the 300-yard threshold in a Super Bowl. He almost had 400 yards from scrimmage, of offense by himself. But he finally played that game that you were waiting for him to play. Not a 3-touchdown game. He had a pick, but he played the game that we all expected him to be able to play in the biggest moment. He gave us that Super Bowl game that it's like, that's Mahomes. The last 2 has been on the defense and some big plays at the end. But this one, even though it wasn't perfect, he that one interception in the first, we'll talk about it in the first possession of the second half when you're getting the ball back after driving down, getting a field goal. I mean, it was tough. Sailed it a little bit. Happens. The defense didn't get down on themselves. Let's go. Let's go defend. That's what they did. We're going to talk about the turnovers and all that, but starting with San Francisco. Purdy, 23 of 38, 255. An average of 6.7, 1 touchdown, no picks, 1 sack for 4 yards. QBR of 69.8, rating of 89.3. Jauan Jennings, which we're going to talk about. 101, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Now, Christian McCaffrey. What did I say? Before this game, I said Christian has to get 100. Has to. And 25 touches. This is what he got. 22 for 80, a long of 11, and an average of 3.6. You want to talk about a hell of a job? Every first down, you knew he was getting the ball. Every first down. I told my dad they're going to run it. They're going to run it with McCaffrey. But there's something about the Kansas City Chiefs that their defense, even though it might be just a couple of stops and you have the best running back in the world or you have the best running quarterback in history, teams really get scared of running the ball more quicker than they should. You got to keep them honest. You have to. And we're going to talk about the on the Kansas City side, how they, how Andy Reid kept the old adage going. But for Shanahan and Harbaugh to rely so much on the run for their career this season, and all their success has come basically from the run, from your run packages, your run looks, and you go away from it. Now, you give McCaffrey 22 carries, but they hold him for 80. He only has a long of 11. You give Brock Purdy 3, not by design, 12 yards, one long of 9. Elijah Mitchell had 2, 8 yards. Debo on a sweep, he had 3 carries, 3 for 8. Held him, no big play, no broken tackles. Kyle Juszczyk gets 1 for 2. Christian McCaffrey is your leading receiver, but he didn't go for 100. He went 8 catches for 80 yards, an average of 10 yards, and the long of 24, which was on the trick play in the second quarter. Okay? Jawan Jennings, 4 for 42, and the touchdown catch to put them over in the fourth quarter. To put them in front in the fourth quarter. We're going to talk about what happened after that touchdown. Probably one of the biggest plays of the game that people aren't mentioning. Jennings saved Purdy and the 49ers in the second half and in the first half. Third downs, touchdowns when they touchdown when they needed it, the pass to execute the trick play. Like, Jennings played a hell of a game. But look what Spags does. Spags says, I'm not letting Christian beat me. He's not getting 100. And I'm going to discourage you from giving him the ball. But then in the air, he gives you 80, gets a touchdown. But without the 24-yarder, he has 7 for 66 on 8 targets. Or on 7 targets if you take away the 24-yarder on the trick play. Ayuk, 4 for 49, 1,300-yard receiver. That's the type of guy you're like, oh my God. But then again, you're like, oh my God about George Kittle. You're like, oh my God about Ayuk. Oh my God, it's Debo. You know? But Spags didn't care. Because Spags said, this defense has carried us here, and I know that we're ready for this. Ray-Ray McCloud, 1 for 19. That was a big play. Kyle Juszczyk had 2 big grabs for 31 yards. Chris Conley had a big 18-yard catch. And then you hold George Kittle to 2 and 4. When you hold George Kittle to 2 for 4 yards, and he got hurt, I think he separated his shoulder possibly. I'm not sure, but he was hanging his shoulder a little bit, and then he came back, so I think he was fine. Then again, it's the Super Bowl. You're going to come back if you can, and it's Kittle. He's a dog. That is Purdy's last resort. George Kittle, if you see any game that they're struggling versus the Packers, Kittle's the one that woke up. You know, late in that game. Versus the Lions, Kittle was the one that woke up in the end. You know? So once you hold Kittle, then you're like, Kyle, what are you going to do? And Spags, knowing that he's facing a not 6'5" quarterback. He's facing a 6-foot quarterback. He knows that on third down, because he can't see over the blitz, he knows he can light him up. But to have the confidence and the balls to leave L'Jarius Sneed a one-on-one multiple times shows the confidence that he has that L'Jarius Sneed is one of the baddest boys on the field at all times. And he is. One of the best corners on the field. Any game. He's one of the best corners in the NFL. But so is Trent McDuffie. Mike Edwards with the big battle way against Debo. You had Willie Gay running full speed, so Purdy couldn't get enough yards to get into field goal range during the third down. Force him to punt. And remember, it was 0-0 in the first quarter. Okay. Now, Nick Bosa played a hell of a game. Fred Warner played a hell of a game. Hargrave. Chase Young got a sack. Hell of a game. Fred Warner had 13 tackles, 9 solos. Jair Brown had the pick and 11 tackles, the rookie. Jamondre Lenore had 8 total tackles. You know, they didn't give Nick Bosa the sack. They gave it to Hargrave and Armstead. Okay. And Chase Young. So they give Chase Young the sack that they converged on in the first quarter. But defense played pretty well. It's just you're playing 15. You're playing 15. And speaking on that, we broke down the game by matchups of units. But we said Andy Reid, Spags, Patrick, Chris, and Travis were first ballot Hall of Fame guys. And the reason why Pat is in GOAT conversations, especially now, the reason why Trav is considered the greatest tight end of all time, the reason why they're having Andy Reid conversations as the greatest coach of all time, and the reason why they're having Spags one of the best, if not the best, defensive play caller of all time, is because those guys are different. And this team is different. Led the leagues in drop passes, led the league in offensive line penalties, or offensive penalties, period. Can't get lined up, offsides, little things here, chippiness on the sideline. And we saw it in this game. Microcosm of their season. They take Kelsey out to put Noah Gray in. Boom. That's what stopped, I believe, on that play when they kicked the field goal. I believe they stopped. It was either Pacheco or McKinnon. And you're like, why on third down you don't have Kelsey in? And he bumped Andy Reid. He was, animated. But Andy Reid loved that. And he said, let's get after it. Didn't overreact. He was like, oh, he almost knocked me over. Same thing with Rashee Rice. On what a play if the snap was a little higher. I promise you, the snap of Creed Humphrey was a little higher, Pat would have thrown that touchdown to Rashee Rice because he was open on the little skinny post inside. He was open. But his first read was Kelsey on the same route that he got Kyle Hamilton on in the AFC Championship, just on the other side. And Fred Warner was there. So you're like, Then there's a turning point. And there was many. There could have been a lot. Considering the fact that 2 turnovers, a fumble, and an interception, and the San Francisco 49ers came out with 0 points. So you get spotted 2 turnovers. Close to your vicinity of your territory, and you come up with 0. That's how good that defense played. I remember after the Pacheco fumble, first play was McCaffrey up the middle, 1 yard. Once you get Shanahan into second and long, you're playing Spags' game. Shanahan has built his offense on first down success rate. If I can get 4 to 5, I keep ahead of the chains, and then I can go for the seams and the in cuts and all that down the field. But once that running game on first down, that Spags said you are not running it on first down. I'm not letting you get this. Even in the first quarter, when they looked like they were having a little momentum. And then CMC fumbles. And I looked at my dad. I was like, CMC fumbling. First drive of the game. Jitters? Okay. But then KC goes 3 and out. I'm like, wow. And when the first quarter ended at 0-0, I was like, this is kind of good for the Chiefs. You guys remember the halftime score in the 2019 Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers? You guessed it, 10-3. 10-3. Now, let's get into the numbers for the Kansas City Chiefs, then we'll go deeper into play-by-play. Mahomes, 3rd Super Bowl MVP. You know, it's him, Brady, Montana. That's it. 34 for 46. So he threw a lot. 333 yards. 7.2 average. 1 interception. We're going to talk about that. 3 sacks for 8 yards. Mitigated. 75.8 QBR. 99.3 quarterback rating. He also led the team in rushing. Most of these rushing yards came in the 4th and overtime. 9 for 66, averages 7.3, along of 22, which was in overtime. Isaiah Pacheco, I said if Isaiah gets over 50 yards rushing, what happens? They win. They win. Why? Because it just keeps that defense honest. It's what Kyle Shanahan was not willing to do in the second half. Is keeping the defense honest. There was a span where he went 8 of 9 plays were pass plays on 3 separate drives. Those were 3 and outs. You can't do that against a Mahomes, against a Brady. You can't. They will make you pay. And red zone efficiency and taking advantage of your opportunities is so important. Because, you know, we look at this game. You have Isaiah Pacheco, 18 for 59, and a long of 10. So it wasn't a lot, but it was just enough. It was just enough to just keep the mind of Wilkes just a little bit. They might run the ball here. And we saw it in the OT. What happened? Because they ran the ball. Rashee Rice, 2 for 5. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 1 for 0. Travis, 1 for 1 yard in the first half. 1 reception, 1 yard. Second half, 8 for 92 yards. Finished with 9 for 93, 10.3 average, along a 22, 10 targets. Big players make big-time plays in big-time games. Simple. Okay? Simple. McCole Hardman, 3 for 57. Where was he? Caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime. He was at the Jets at the beginning of the season. He had already won a ring with them. You know? Justin Watson went 3 for 54. Big play, that 25-yarder. Rashee Rice went 6 for 39 on 8 targets. Isaiah Pacheco went 6 for 33. A big important one. MVS. Dropped balls all year. He redeems himself in the AFC Championship to end it. Catches the touchdown that gets the spark going in the second half. Gives them the lead once more. You know, for the first time in the game, they got the lead off of that MVS touchdown. That was 6. 13. 13-10. Jerick McKinnon 2 for 15. One of them was a big one. Richie had nothing. But the defense, Bolton, Nick, captain of that defense, the leader. When we talk about like who making calls, he's the middle linebacker. 13 tackles, 5 solo, 1 tackle for loss. Justin Reed, 0.5 sacks on 9 tackles, 4 solo. Mike Edwards, pass batted down, pass defense. Leo Chenal, QB hit. George Karlaftis, 0.5 sacks, 3 QB hits. You know, Willie Gay, Chris Jones. Chris Jones had 2 QB hits. They were important. L'Jarius Sneed pass defended. Trent McDuffie 3 passes defended and 2 QB hits. Everybody played extremely, extremely, extremely well. Sound football. L'Jarius Sneed got the unsportsmanlike conduct in the first half. You can't do that. Or was it in the second half? It was a big play. It was a big play. But let's go. Let's break it down. 0-0 first quarter. 2 turnovers. Defense is doing their thing. Second quarter. Shanahan had to pull out a trick play to get a touchdown. That's what he had to pull out in the first half. His offense was not getting it done. He could not get separation. He could not get the daylight, the confusion in the back end, the motions, all that. It was not working. So he dials up double pass. And Jawan Jennings throws the ball to Christian McCaffrey, and McCaffrey runs for 24 yards to the end zone untouched. Good block. It was blocked well, executed good. But that's what you had to pull out. I looked at that. I was like, if you got to pull that in the second quarter to get to get something in the end zone, you're scratching at the bottom of the barrel, and it's early against a guy who has a barrel that's a lot bigger, and he's never gotten to the bottom. That being Andy Reid. Also, Spags saw it. Can't play it. Can't do it again. You know? So for them to have to pull that out, to get McCaffrey the ball in a unique situation so he can use his speed and get to the end zone. And that made it 10-0. What about the 56-yarder by Moody? Hell of a kick. Hell of a kick by a rookie to break the Super Bowl record in his first kick in the Super Bowl. But we're going to talk about what happens maybe because he was a rookie. And he had a couple of, mistakes throughout the year. He was good, but few things. We're going to talk about that. But, so you're up 10-0. You're feeling good, bum. What happens? Very simple. What happens is you give Mahomes too much time and 3 timeouts. You gave Mahomes 240 something. Let me tell you exact timestamp. Exact timestamp of that field goal. You gave Mahomes, not the field goal, the touchdown, because they kicked the field goal at the beginning of the game. The 55-yarder. You gave Mahomes 420, I think like 3 something after the kickoff and all that. Probably like 423. 4 minutes and 23 seconds with all 3 timeouts. And he's getting the ball in the second half. That's another thing. You won the toss at the beginning, and you decide to take the ball against Mahomes? That's how scared you were. That shows me when I saw that right off the kickoff, right off the toss, I was like, he's already scared. Shanahan's already scared because you want the ball coming out of the second half. You want the ability to try to score and score. The old last four, first four. The old Bill Belichick adage. You know, last 4 minutes of the first half, last 5 minutes of the first half, first 5 minutes of the second half. That's what wins games. And makes separation. But what did you allow him to do? Stick around. Your defense played great. Purdy was being good, but you couldn't put it in the end zone. You could have been up 17-3. Could have been up 20-3. That first drive was going good. McCaffrey gets stripped. And it was a good strip. They held him up and they stripped him. You know, but then Pacheco gets stripped. And even a deeper part. You know? So, like, for you to have a 0-0 first quarter and your defense is playing well, forced a fumble, you're doing good. And it looked kind of shaky. Richie James almost muffed the punt. Like, it was looking shaky. Sacks, you know, couldn't get out of their own way. Not a penalty-wise, but more like, you know, they were covering it up and kind of confusing Mahomes a little bit, but Mahomes gets in a rhythm. Mahomes starts reading you. Every drive, every play, he just starts reading you. Okay, that's a play. Okay, that's a play. And then once you get to the second half, especially the fourth quarter and overtime, he knows exactly your game plan. And if you haven't made adjustments and enough adjustments that he won't catch up to all of them until at the end of the game, you're cooked. Just like Brady. They prepare too hard. Too hard. We're going to talk about what happened with the 49ers players after the game, saying that they didn't know the overtime rules. I was flabbergasted hearing that, especially from Kyle Juszczyk and Eric Armstead. But we'll get to that. Back to the play-by-play. You're up 10-0. And you don't give him a touchdown, but you let him have a peek at the lead. Just have a peek. You let him drive it down to you. Okay, okay, gain a little confidence. We can move the ball. Okay, we haven't been able to move the ball at all. All right, let's move the ball a little bit. Boom. Bucker. Longest field goal in Super Bowl history. Moody broke it with 55. Bucker hit. Oh no, he had a 28-yard field goal. The 57 was later. He had a 28-yard field goal. You know? And, you know, to go into locker room 10-3. 10-3 again. Against the same people. In the same game. You heard it, what they said at halftime. Hey, guys, let's just be us. Let's go back to playing Chiefs football. They were only down 7. Now, Mahomes thinks the door is open, whether it was 10-0, 17-0. But you let him get points on the board, getting the ball in the second half, and let him see that he could get the lead. 10-3. 10-3. Offense hadn't been clicking, but the defense was there. Spags kept them in it. They rode the defense just like they did all year. Second best points defense, second best scoring defense in the league all year. You come out at halftime. Usher killed it, by the way. I loved it. Loved that he played Confessions and Let It Burn. And, when Yeah came on, like, I loved all that. Loved it all. Loved seeing Lil Jon. Loved seeing her, Alicia Keys. They were saying Swiss Beats was probably sweating some bullets up there in the booth, because they're touching on his woman. But, that's showmanship. Shout out to Usher. Still can pop lock and drop it. Still can dance his ass off like Chris Brown, MJ, Justin Timberlake, those guys. So very good halftime show. Liked it a lot. Coming out of half, I was like, okay, Mahomes looks like he's in a little bit of a rhythm. I think that they can go down here and score and possibly tie this game. No, that doesn't happen. First drive, pick. Oh my God. Pick. Wow. Mahomes throws a pick in the Super Bowl again. An overthrow. He was trying to hit Kelce. He was rolling out. He was trying to hit Kelce. He tried to aim it instead of just firing it in there because Kelce was in front of the man that caught the ball, of Jair Brown, Jair Brown, the rookie. But he sailed it a little bit, and Jair got it. Jair got it. But then the defense holds to 0. Again. The defense held them to 0 again. If you don't get points off turnovers against a guy like Mahomes when they give it to you, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. So you punt. What does KC do? Punt. What does San Francisco do? Punt again. 3 and out. Gave it back to KC. Punt. But what happened on that last punt? The muff punt. Hits the back of a rookie. 6th round. Ray McCloud tries to jump on it. Slips through his fingers. And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? It's good. That's what it's gonna take. That's what it's gonna take. You gotta understand that. It's as soon as it touches his ankle, I thought Ray muffed it. In real time, I thought Ray had muffed it. And I was like, oh my God, Ray, how can you do that? And he was trying to save it. He was trying to save it. And it slipped through his fingers. And I believe Karlaftis jumped on it. And one play later, MVS is in the end zone wide open. On a switch release with Kelce, with Pacheco going into the flat. I mean, play design genius. Kelce's inside. MVS is the outside receiver, and then Pacheco goes on the flat. But the way that they release, MVS cuts right before Kelce. Kelce gets behind them, and the corner and the linebacker go towards Pacheco go to Pacheco, and Travis, and MVS is wide open on the seam. And he caught it. He needed to. Boom. Up. Right then and there. You lost all momentum. 16 yards, 10-13. Uh-oh. Pressure back on Purdy. What does Purdy do? Drive him all the way down. Drives him all the way down. To get 13-13. Okay, Moody hits oh no. No, the touchdown, the biggest play of the game. 49ers get rolling. Okay, they get rolling. And I said to my dad, I was like, if they can get this first down, or depending on this first play, and the first play I think was a run to McCaffrey for like 4 or 5 yards. And I said, depending on this first down, this first play is how they're going to do this drive. And as soon as they got 5 yards, I was like, okay, it's a possibility they might go down and score. And evidently that's what he did. Purdy found some holes with Jawan Jennings and Juszczyk. You know, he found Debo, he found Ayuk. And boom. Jennings breaks a tackle, goes into the end zone, 16-13. Biggest play of the game. Why do I say that? People haven't said it. People have said the biggest play of the game was in the fourth quarter. People said that the biggest play of the game, you know, was possibly not going for it on fourth down in the overtime, or him not taking the ball him not deferring in overtime. To me, I said it to my dad as soon as it happened. The biggest play of the game was the mixed extra point. The blocked extra point. You get that right there. You make it 17-10. Mahomes is going to tie you. Okay? Mahomes needs a touchdown to tie you. Unless he wants to go for it for a 2-point conversion. But why is it so important? Because you gave him You gave him a lot of time. And not just the time. The time is not the problem. The score is the problem, because it creates the situation that he's like, I can get 3 here. That's exactly what he did. He drove down, boom. And Butker kicks him. You know? Now, when we get to Butker's 57-yarder to make it 10-6, that was important. Really important. That still was to keep the momentum going. They needed that 6 because they had held them to no touchdowns in the second half yet. So they needed that 6 right there. But the biggest play of the game is the blocked field goal. And the reason why is because the situation changes completely, and it goes from this to, okay. It's a laughing, but it's like, relax. It's a relaxed type of feeling, you know? And, you know, he kicked it low, got it off his ankle, got it blocked. So this is when Steve Wilks has to stand up. And his players, his defense has to stand up and say, no, this is our Super Bowl to win. And he couldn't do it. Mahomes drives down, boom, boom. Drives down, gets 3, 16-16. What's the problem with 16-16? That no matter what you do, unless you get a 2-point conversion, you cannot guarantee yourself the win. With a 4-point lead and he gets, you're still up 1. So you still own the cards. But no. You get the extra point blocked. He drives down, gets 16-16. Purdy, it's on you. Try to win it. Drives down. And on 3rd and 4. I think it was 2 3rd and 4s, actually. 2 3rd and 4s, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go to the play-by-play here. Then we'll really go into the weeds. On the 3rd and 4, with 1:43 left, 3rd and 5, Purdy gets blitzed. And that's the McDuffie play. As my birds decide to chime in. That was the McDuffie blitz. Coming off the edge into the C gap off the hip of Karlaftis that took an outside rush in order to open that angle. And he was on him so fast that Brock Purdy's hot was against the blitz. On the same side of the blitz to Jawan Jennings, and L'Jarius Sneed was right on him. Boom. You have to take 3 there. Okay, now Mahomes gets the ball with 153. But you gave him 153 and he had 2 timeouts. And people say, like, in the first half, maybe Shanahan should have called his timeouts and maybe saved himself a minute to try to maybe get a field goal at the end of the half to make it 13-3. But, going to halftime at 10-3, I know Shanahan's like, our defense is playing really well, so we can stop him. And, he wasn't wrong. He got a pick the very next drive and possession. So, like, it wasn't a wrong call. But, people are going to put that in the air. Now, you give Mahomes 153, 2 timeouts, and the possibility to tie you with a field goal and not have to get a touchdown. And even though he had to get the field goal, the reason they kicked the field goal and go to overtime is because they ran out of time, not because they got stopped. It's because they ran out of time. So they were rolling going into overtime. The offense was rolling. It was clicking. Okay? So he goes down and ties it 19-19. He goes down to tie it 19-19. Okay? And the pass, listen. The pass to Kelce for 9 yards. That was big on 1st and 10. Then you have the scramble right that gets the first down by Mahomes. This is when he starts using his legs. Then he has the short pass to Noah Gray on 1st down to get 12. That was huge. That was 1:14 left. And they get from 1st down to 1st down, 12 yards. Then you go to Justin Watson for 8 yards. That little out route. Then you go incomplete to Justin Watson. You take a timeout. Oh no, then you pass it to McKinnon. First time he touches the ball, he gets 7 yards. Take a timeout with 40 seconds left, and you're at the San Francisco 36. You already have the field goal in the bag. This is win or tie. 40 seconds from the 36. 1 timeout. That's what you want if you're Patrick Mahomes. I score, I win the Super Bowl. I get a field goal, I get a chance to go into overtime. No pressure. He's been in this before. Did it last year. So then what happens after that? Well, after the timeout, he scrambles up the middle for 3 yards on 1st down. And we're like, okay. Then he passes it incomplete on 2nd and 10 with 16 seconds left. He passes to Kelce. And he pushed to the San Francisco he got tackled at the San Francisco 11. And Jair Brown that's when he dislocated his shoulder. When Kittle hit him. When Kelce hit him. That was for 22. They call a timeout at 10 seconds. Incomplete pass to Kelce. They ran out of time. It was 2nd and 10. 3 seconds left. Kick the 29-yard field goal. Let's go to overtime. Why did it seem in overtime that Mahomes was inevitable? Because in the second half, especially in that 4th quarter, they weren't stopping him. He had already figured him out. It was only a matter of time. It was based on the defense. And let's look at the overtime. You call tails. They get heads. New overtime rules, both teams, it's like college. Both teams get a shot. No matter if it's a touchdown, they get a shot. The only time they don't get a shot if it's a pick six or a scoop and score. That's it. Because then that would satisfy the fact that the other team had its shot. And you're telling me that against Mahomes, you are willing, because you think that, oh, we wanted to get the ball third for the sudden death. You have to get to the third possession first. I mean, hello? It's all good saying we want it third, but you're facing Mahomes. You're facing Mahomes. You want to know what you have to do. You don't want to give him the freedom of knowing what he has to do, what they need for a win, for a tie, and an extra down. And clock wasn't a factor. They snapped it with with like 5 seconds left at the end of the overtime. If that would have been incomplete, because that ball the touchdown happened on first and goal. Touchdown happened on first and goal. So it would have gone to a second OT, like the CBS guy predicted. So it was not an end of anything. They was just gone to the next play. But what happened? This is what happened. San Francisco, when they needed it the most, when Spags knew that he had to have a stop, he dialed up the best defensive player he's played with. He has at his disposal, Chris Jones. And whether if it was a defensive missed assignment or Chris Jones confused the tackle and went inside, he was unblocked. And me and my dad looked at each other like, you're leaving 95 unblocked on a 3rd and 4 for your Super Bowl life? And then he didn't go for it on 4th down. And then if you look at the thinking behind it, why would you go for it on 4th down? Well, if you don't get it, they have to go the length of they would need a field goal. But they would have to go from they would have to go from the 27-yard, the KC9. They have to go all the way to try to go get a field goal. I mean, the clock didn't matter. He had four downs, but you give the defense a little bit more pressure with the end zone facing his back. But you don't go for it on 4th down. You take the points and you put everything you got, everything, on Steve Wilks, Nick Bosa, and this defense with Fred Warner. But your mistake was that you didn't realize that Mahomes had already figured you out. You were dialing it up in the beginning of the game when he was just like reading, and downloading your move set. Shout out Zanny, if you guys know that channel. Just downloading it. Oh, that's what you're going to... Okay. That's how you're going to blitz me? Okay. That's the type of coverage you're playing? Okay. Push comes to shove. He was going to use his legs. He just hadn't done it yet. And to give him 4 downs, an unlimited clock, 3 timeouts, and only having to get a field goal to keep the game going, but knowing that he could win with a touchdown, as soon as you kicked that field goal, I knew Patrick Mahomes was going to go down and score. Because that's what he does. You give him enough rope, he will chew it up and he'll bite back. And at the end of the 4th quarter and in that overtime, he was Patrick Mahomes at his finest. Showtime. But with the mind. What a call on that 4th and 1. What a call. To give him a triple option, ask him, hey, we got a roll out here. It would be Kelce on the flat. You can give it to Pacheco if Nick doesn't crash and tries to contain you. But you can run it. And he's like, if I don't see anything, I'm going. To put the ball in your best player's hands, to have that faith, to know that he's going to make the right decision like he did all night, except that interception. What an incredible intestinal fortitude by Andy Reid. What belief. And what confidence and preparation. Steadiness. A coolness. That I've been here before. I know what I'm doing. There is no panic. There is no jitters. When the biggest moment of the game came, 15 stepped up. So he gets the 4th and 1. That's why you don't give him all 4 downs. You get the 4th and 1. Then you get Rashee. Hadn't done anything all game. You get Rashee on you get the penalty on McDuffie. So before they go to the field goal, the defense had stopped San Francisco first 3 downs in overtime. And then that 3rd down, McDuffie gets a holding call, which I saw it. I was like, is that a hold? And Tony and Gene and all said, yeah, that's a clear hold. I was like, all right. And that got the ball rolling for the 49ers until Chris Jones went free. Now, people say that Purdy missed Debo wide open. You know, Garoppolo missed Emmanuel Sanders. Now, this was a much shorter throw. But for Spags to live and die not only by the blitz, but he lived and died in press man-to-man. They played cover 1 and covered 0. They were like, come at me. Let's go. Let's see how good you are, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. They played 1. Every time they blitzed, they were playing cover 0. The most basic coverage there is. Man-to-man, let's go. See what you got. My best versus your best. And Spags believed that Snead, McDuffie, Mike Edwards, Justin Reed, his linebackers, his line was better. That his scheme was better. He out-schemed Kyle Shanahan in the second half. Even in the first half, he held him to 10. He needed a trick play to get 7. So he really held him to 3. The trick play was, Reed got bumped outside and that opened the crease after the pass by Juwan Jennings. But you got to understand that no matter if you have the lead going into halftime, if that shit's not 17, 20, to really put the pressure on Mahomes to try to press, you gave 7 points. Going to the second half, my ball first. He's comfortable. Been there before. Every single Super Bowl this man's won, he's come back from 10 down. Every single Super Bowl. Every single Super Bowl this man has been in. He hasn't had the best team. He hasn't. Even with Tyreek Hill, that 49ers team was better. That 49ers team was better because that defense was not as good as that 49ers defense at that time. I said that Andy Reid, Spags, Patrick, Travis, and Chris had something over the head of Kyle Shanahan and that whole Niners staff. We have beat you before. We've walked you down before. We've walked down your leads before. No panic. Give him the ball. He knew. They said, hey, if we won the toss, we were going to kick. Because it's better knowing what you have to do and having 4 downs. And it's funny because they say that they didn't know it, but the referee at the beginning of overtime, before he flipped the coin, he said it to the captains. Hey, the new rules are in place. It's going to be one team scores or doesn't do nothing. The other team will have an opportunity unless there's a turnover and a touchdown. They said it. So you have no excuse of not knowing Kyle Juszczyk, Eric Armstead, all pros, not knowing the rules. Kansas City, after the game, yeah, we've prepared for that. We've gone through the situations. That's the difference. That's the difference. The attention to absolute every single detail. That's what makes you a champion. In basketball, in baseball, in football, in tennis, in soccer, in any sport, in racing, the attention to detail. The more you stress the small, minute details, so when the time comes you are prepared, the more chance you have of winning. And that's after talent. That's after, scheme. That's after all that. Preparation. Tom Brady said it best. You play how you practice. You practice hard and disciplined, you're going to play hard and disciplined. That's what made that Patriots dynasty. That's what made this Kansas City dynasty. That's 3 of them in 6 years. That's a dynasty. That's a dynasty. Now, let's go to so we talk about the 4th down, the run, right? He runs it again. He runs it again up the middle, outruns Fred Warner, which was incredible. You get the holding, everything like that. Moody kicks a 27-yarder. And then Pacheco gets 3 yards. Mahomes, Rasheed for 6. 3rd and 1. Pacheco up the middle, no gain. 4th and 1. Right off the bat, this is your first 4 downs. Boom, you're already on 4th and 1. And Mahomes is like, give it to me. I got it. This is me. I got it. Incredible. That's what you want in a player. That's what you want in a superstar. That's what you want in a legend. The want to. No shying away from the moment. Understanding what's at stake and wanting to have that pressure on your shoulders. Wanting to carry the team to victory. For the ultimate glory. And this is not your first one. This is your 3rd one. But for a chance to go back-to-back, first in Las Vegas. Iconic. First overtime with the new rules. All that. All the doubters all year. Everything. Put it on my shoulders. I got it. I am that guy. I am him. Picks up the 4th and 1. After the 4th and 1, you have the Valdez-Scantling, whatever that was, catches the ball 6 yards, loses 12. So now it's 2nd and 13. You're like, oh my God, 2nd and 13. And I was like, I don't think so. They start playing soft coverage. And they give Mahomes a 7-yard little pass to MVS to make it 3rd and 6, 3rd and manageable. You're 2nd and 13. You stop them right here, you win the game. You win the Super Bowl. And you play soft coverage. And you give up 7 yards for him to get you at the 3rd and 6, knowing that he has 2 more downs. So you take your foot off the gas pedal defensively. Play a little soft because you don't want to give the first down. But when the guy that you're facing knows that he has another down, he'll take 7 yards the easy way. Oh, you're going to give me that? Okay. Fine. 3rd and 6. Mahomes to Rashee Rice, the cross the middle pass where he ran away from on the rub route coming from the other side. Beautiful. 1st and 10. Isaiah Pacheco over 4. Timeout by San Francisco. They take the first one. Mahomes passed the crossing, the little flat route to Pacheco for 5 yards. Then he scrambles up the middle for 19. That's the play. He gets the snap, and he looks at the defense, and immediately the C's in front of him part just a little bit, and he takes off. And he takes off so quick that as soon as Fred Warner sees him, he's already by his hip, and he's leaving him. And gets 19 yards, gets the first down, and puts them at the 10. Actually, no. He puts them at the 13 with 1 minute and 26 seconds in OT, which doesn't matter because it would have gone to a second OT. And then we give the ball to Pacheco up the middle 3 yards. Then on 2nd and 7, you get Kelce, 7 yards on a little spot route. 7 yards, boom, 1st and goal at the 3 with a running clock. And then they run the call Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry was the call. Supposedly, Andy Reid said that it was corn dog because it had the same motion as last year with a little ketchup and a little mustard because it was supposed to be a misdirection play. That motion by Mecole Hardman was the misdirection. It was supposed to be a shuffle pass to McKinnon inside. But Pat being Pat, they show the motion, all the eyes turn. You see a step up one, and right there, as soon as the ball snapped, Mecole Hardman's open in the flat. Touchdown. Game over. Super Bowl. Back to back. Patrick Mahomes. 3 Super Bowl MVPs. We're witnessing greatness. Don't take it for granted. People say that I hated on Brady, and yeah, I'm a Dolphins fan. What do you expect? But when he went to Tampa, I really understood his greatness and how rare it was to see him and Tiger and Kobe and LeBron and Curry. Rare athletes. Jimmy Johnson in NASCAR. Lewis Hamilton in F1. For you guys that like IMSA, Scott Pruitt. You know, John Force in NHRA, which is drag racing. You know, to see that, Tim Duncan, to see that, and to be in it and covering it with you guys is a joy for me. We're 2-0. Back-to-back years, we picked the Super Bowl champs. It was the same team on the same play at the same time to win the Super Bowl. And the same motion. In, out. It was supposed to be the motion with Mecole pulls out the corner, and then you have the pitch inside the McKinnon. As soon as they went with McKinnon, Pat saw Mecole. And Mecole caught it and blacked out. Didn't even know he won the Super Bowl until Mahomes came running to him and said, yo, you just won the Super Bowl. You just blacked out. A guy that went to the Jets after winning 2 rings with them. It's like, got sent out. Not that big of a part. Comes back mid-season. They get him back. And he catches the game-winning touchdown in overtime in the Super Bowl to get back-to-back rings. The job that Andy Reid has done, keeping this team together, glued, through the ups and downs, through the loss against the Raiders. Omenihu tears his ACL. He loses Tooney, tearing his pec. Didn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's all about here. It's all about here. How much you want it. And Kansas City wanted it more. Now, we're going to go over what this means for San Francisco. Okay? We're gonna go over. I bookmarked it. Key free agents for San Francisco. Chase Young, probably gonna pay him. Tashaun Gibson, that's an iffy. John Feliciano, he got hurt. He's Puerto Rican though, just like Isaiah Pacheco. Boricua baby, let's go. Repping red for the Chiefs. Repping the island. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Isaiah. Javon Kinlaw, probably should pay him. Sam Darnold, maybe you can get a better backup. Oren Burks, probably should pay him. Khalil Farrell, Randy Gregory, maybe. Kevin Givens, Sebastian Joseph Day, Ben Barch, Ross Dwelly, Charlie Warner, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, who played yesterday. Logan Ryan, their safety, maybe. Chris Conley had a big catch, maybe. Matt Pryor, and then Brandon Allen. So it's not bad. Nick Bosa under contract. Purdy, of course, under contract. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, all of them. You're not losing nobody. You pay Chase Young. You don't got to worry about Fred Warner. So what do you do? What is the next step for this team? Can you get any better? And the answer is maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this is a Jordan era. And it's been said, and I think it's true. I think we're in a Jordan era. First 6 years, 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, two MVPs, 2 5,000-yard seasons, a 50-touchdown season. Greatest start in an NFL career for sure of all time. And before his 29th birthday, 28 years old, basically hitting his prime. And the craziest thing about this team is this was the weakest one offensively. Now, last year they didn't have Tyreek, but this defense wasn't as good as it was this year. This year, you have, you don't have a number one. Receivers, you can't trust them. They're dropping passes. It was a lot of what's happening. But once they get into the playoffs, it's kind of like that Jordan switch. And, all right, they said it all year. All we have to do is clean these things up. Clean the offensive penalties up. Clean the drops up. And we'll be fine. We could beat anybody. And they proved it. Now, this run, I believe, is one of the greatest runs I've ever seen in my life. This guy had one home game in Miami, one of the coldest games ever, and then went to a rolling Buffalo Bills team. Rolling. In Buffalo. In the cold. Beat them. Goes to Baltimore, number 1 seed, MVP, best defense. This is their year. Beat them in their own house. And then you go to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. And you beat the 49ers again, who were slated to be the better team, just like they were in 2019. And it comes down to the same people that I talked about last week. It came down to the same people. It came down to Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Steve Spagnuolo, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones. They all had a part. They all had a hand. Mahomes played a wonderful game except that one interception. But the defense put a bandage on it and didn't allow it to be anything. Red zone efficiency. Third down efficiency. All those stats that really matter for the teams that win and the teams that are successful consistently. It was all on the Chiefs side. They were better on third down. They were better in the red zone. People say that the muff punt was the turning point. No. The muff punt just allowed the Chiefs to really strike fear into the 49ers. The game ended. The beginning of the end for the 49ers was the missed extra point. Because that set up everything else that happened. Because of 1 point. 22-25 is only 3 points. You know? So 1 point looms large. And for that to be an extra point, not a field goal, not a missed touchdown, no, an extra point is incredible. For Pacheco and CMC, two guys that don't fumble the ball, to both fumble the ball in the first quarter, who would have thought that? Jitters. To Jawan Jennings having a touchdown pass and a touchdown catch, and nobody else caught a touchdown for San Francisco. Crazy. CMC and Jawan Jennings, those were your touchdown players for San Francisco. And the main thing about this game was that Spags, when you look at the box score, yeah, McCaffrey gave you 160 yards of offense. But he only had a long of 11 on the ground and a long of 24 through the air. And then you hold down B.A. Ayuk to 49 yards on 3 catches. You hold down Debo to 3 for 33 on 11 targets. 11 targets. 6 targets for Ayuk. 3 for 33. And you hold George Kittle to 2 for 4 on 3 targets. Once you do that, everything else crumbles because everything runs through CMC. Now, if CMC does his part, like he did, 160 yards of offense, you expect Debo or Ayuk to pick up the slack. Guess what? Spags played man-to-man. And he was like, beat me. I'm going to jam you. Man-to-man. Cover 0. No help. What you got? And McDuffie and Snead stepped up every time. Every time. That's a testament to their attitude. That's a testament to how they practice. That's a testament to the mentality of that team. McDuffie's only a second-year player out of Washington. Snead, they kept Snead because they didn't want to pay Charvarius Ward, who was on the other side of this one, on the 49ers side, a.k.a. Mooney. So, incredible game. Incredible game. At this point, I think it's, if you go by football greatness and accolades, I think it's Brady, Montana, Mahomes. That's it. 1, 2, 3. If Mahomes gets a 4th one with a 4th Super Bowl MVP, I will put him above Montana. And then there's some people out there, some analysts that say if Mahomes gets to 5, just because of the way that he's done it, that he might be considered the GOAT. But I think he has to be considered the true GOAT, I think you have to go get 7. 8, which is still hard. Still got 3, first 6 years. So you got a shot, but it's not easy. It might look like they're making it easy, but it's not easy. And the AFC will be better next year. CJ Stroud year 2. AR comes back. Trevor Lawrence is going to look better. People are going to draft. But you still got to beat Chiefs Kingdom. Still got to beat 1-5. You still got to beat 87. You still got to beat Reed. Spags, 95. And this team is young, man. Pacheco, third year next year. McDuffie, third year next year. Bolton, third year next year. Like, team's young. Karlaftis, second year next year. Or third year next year. Like, they're young. This is the beginning. This puts the cap on the dynasty, but it doesn't end it. This is the beginning of the dynasty. They have the actual title now of dynasty, but they can keep it going. And I believe they will. Now, can the 49ers get back? Absolutely. I still see no competition in besides the Packers who are coming and the Lions. And the Rams if they do something, but Stafford is getting a little older. The Vikings, depends what they do with Kirk Cousins. What are the Bears going to do if they draft Caleb, if they go with Justin? And then everybody else, I mean, Dak is going to be Dak in the regular season and then shit the bed in the postseason. And then the Eagles switched offensive and defense coordinators again. Trying to regain that magic that they had with Rich Gannon and Shane Steichen. So, as in the AFC going to be harder? Yeah, absolutely. What's the Broncos going to do at quarterback? You know, they're going to move off Russ. They're going to draft somebody. You know, a lot of things. Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Another year of Josh Allen. Another year of Tua. You know, what's New England going to do with Gerard Mayo? There's a lot of questions. Justin Herbert with Harbaugh. That's going to be a tough team. Still got Lamar. Still got Joe Burrow coming back. Deshaun Watson coming back. It's tough. It's going to be tough for Pittsburgh. It's going to be, you know, tough for Tennessee. Those teams that, like, in the AFC that, like, you see struggling a little bit, it's going to be even tougher. And you still, at the end of the day, when you're in the NFC, you still got to understand that no matter who you beat in the NFC, you still got to beat 1-5. I will get a jersey. I'm in the process of getting the hat. I've wanted to get a jersey and the hat even since last year, even since his first Super Bowl. I love watching greatness. I love Patrick Mahomes. I love Andy Reid. He's the top 3 coach of all time. I don't think it's a far-fetched thing. I mean, 238 wins, 3 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowl appearances. Think of like 8 championships, the AFC and NFC combined. And just, you know, only guy since with Bill Belichick to win 3 Super Bowls after the age of 60. And he's not retiring. Big Red is still going. He's having fun with Mahomes, with Kelsey. Kelsey ain't retiring. And even with the miscues and everything like that, 49ers let him hang around. And when you let Pat Mahomes hang around, he's going to bite you in the ass. And he did. So, shout out to the Chiefs. Shout out to Spags, Chris Jones, Chiefs Kingdom, Kelsey, Mahomes, the whole crew. I'm happy for Travis Kelce, truly am, with him and Taylor. Like, you saw the love after the field, after the game. I really, really, really see that as a positive thing for the league, for the world. Chivalry is not dead. Tongue twister there. But, you know, I think that they did a wonderful job. I think Tony Romo was wonderful in commentary. So was Jim Nantz. The referees stayed out of the way for the most part. The whole game, let them boys play. It played pretty fast, especially in the first half. Then it got long, you know, because the fourth quarter was meticulous, and so was the overtime. But overall, great Super Bowl, one of the greatest ones we're ever gonna see. And you know, you wouldn't want it any other way as a fan. Last second of the game to win it all, touchdown. I don't think you can sum it up any better than that. So shout out to the Chiefs, baby. Shout out to the Chiefs. Now, a couple things else that we got to talk about. The NFL honors, they happened. Quickly, Mike Zimmer is gonna be hired as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. He's been there before. Jerry knows him. What will he do? God knows. Because I just think that the defense isn't the problem here. Not having Trayvon Diggs this year hurt, but you had DaRon Bland. Micah has to figure out how not to get blocked on running plays. How to just, when they run at him, how to get out of that. He'll get savvier. But at the end of the day, is changing the defensive coordinator really what's going to do it? Or is it the offense that keeps coming up short? And to me, that's what it is. They beat up on sorry teams like the Giants and the Commanders and the Bears and, Saints and Falcons. And you beat up on all these teams. And you get to the playoffs where the big teams play, where the real teams play, where the ones that really want to win. And you shit the bed. Since 1995, you've shit the bed. There's nothing funnier than that. There's nothing funnier than that. So, overall, I don't know what hiring Mike Zimmer will do. Because I don't think the defense was necessarily the problem. I think the offense just can't get it done. Dak can't get it done. CD can't get it done. They just can't get it done. They have everything they need, and still they stop short. Shout out Chisel Adonis. Next thing, Grubb. The Washington Huskies offensive coordinator, former offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, went to Alabama to be Kalen DeBoer's offensive coordinator, just like he was at the Huskies. And guess who comes calling? Mike Macdonald from the Seahawks. Says, hey, buddy, I need you to be my OC over here in Seattle. And according to reports to Adam Schefter that he didn't tell nobody, that was his number one guy. That was Mike Macdonald's number one guy for OC when he got the job. That's the guy who he had mentioned to Schneider. It's like, hey, this is the guy I want for my OC. Now, what I think of this, because I know where Ryan Grubb is coming from, is it a possibility that Seattle drafts Michael Penix? Gino is, you could use him as kind of a bridge quarterback, because the contract you gave him had an out, and you draft the next generation with Michael Penix. Now, depending on what he does in the combine, depending what people think about his film, the arm is there. The arm talent, the accuracy, he could throw in the wind, like everything you want is there. The injuries, yes. He's older, yes. But everything you would want is there. Do you pull the trigger in the second round? Does he have such a good job in the combine that you might have to trade up to go get him? All those conversations, I'm pretty sure Mike Macdonald and Ryan Grubb will be having over the next few weeks. All right. Let's get to these NFL football honors. MVP Lamar. We knew this was going to happen. Second MVP for Lamar. I think he's a Hall of Famer already. The playoff record's not what it is, but he's the greatest running quarterback of all time, and 2 MVPs, one of them unanimous. But this is the thing. The real MVP of this season was CMC. And we've talked about Tyreek. If he would have gone to 2000, would he have gotten the MVP? I think yes. I think that they would have actually done it, but I'm not sure. CMC being the only guy in the NFL again with 2,000 yards from scrimmage, 21 touchdowns. I think the guy deserved it. But it's turned into a quarterback award ever since Adrian Peterson. So what do? Well, then you give Christian McCaffrey Offensive Player of the Year. You give Myles Garrett Defensive Player of the Year. So this is what people were saying. Oh, he didn't lead the league in sacks. That was TJ's award to win. Yeah, but Myles Garrett carried the number one defense in the NFL all year. Carried it like a boss. They had this man. There had highlights of him crossing up people in midair, in thin air before the ball snapped, and he was due. He's been top 3 for the in the depoy for the last 3-4 years. He needed one. They gave one to TJ. They gave one to Nick Bosa. They gave one to Donald. Okay. Well, it's time for Myles Garrett to get one. So I'm okay with it. I wanted Myles Garrett to win it. I picked him to win it when mid-season, when he was dominating. I get it. I get the sacks and everything, but when you look at pressure rate, when you look at everything, Myles Garrett was top of everything. The freak. Offensive Rookie of the Year, no surprise. Could have been Puka, but it's CJ Stroud. Greatest rookie season for a QB in NFL history. D-Roy, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Will Anderson. Just a little bit over Jalen Carter for the Eagles. And, the Houston Texans went from 3 wins last year to both the Offensive Rookie of the Year and the Defensive Rookie of the Year with back-to-back picks. That's how fast you can turn something around when you pick the right people and you put the right people in the building. And this is a Nick Caserio picks, guy from New England, build a dynasty, was part of it. This is the one that was controversial because of Damar Hamlin coming back from basically dying on the field. Joe Flacco gets comeback player of the year. You could debate it. I think if Damar had a normal season, because he skipped a lot of games. I saw him on the sideline with Hoodie a lot of games and playing on special teams, not playing his original safety role where he was basically almost being a Pro Bowler before it happened. I understand Joe Flacco coming in, saving the ship, over there in the Browns. And then Coach of the Year, instead of D'Amico, instead of Dan Campbell, instead of Shanahan, instead of Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, but why? 4 quarterbacks, you still make it to the playoffs. 4 different quarterbacks, and you kept them afloat to reach the playoffs. Hell of a season, and number 1 defense. Assistant Coach of the Year, his defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. Well, he had the number 1 defense all year. And Myles Garrett. Walter Payton Man of the Year, Ironhead, Cameron Hayward. Deserved it. I mean, what a class. There's no classier. You couldn't find a classier guy in the NFL. Real professional. Hell of an award for him. The Hall of Fame. People that we watch play, people that I watch play in their prime and saw how dominant they were, and I knew that they were a Hall of Fame player when I saw him play. Julius Peppers, one of the greatest DNs of all time. Saw him in Carolina, then with the Packers. Andre Johnson, UM, legend. One of the last ones of the old guard with Clinton Portis and Devin Hester. We'll get to him. And, all-time great. Best Houston's receiver of all time before D-Hop got there. You can toss it up depending on who you like. Most people like Dre because he spent his whole career there. Hall of Famer. Well-deserved. Unstoppable. Patrick Willis. I knew he was a Hall of Fame player. Came out of Ole Miss. I knew he was an Hall of Fame player. One of my coaches in high school, Coach Hartman, he was our he was our strength and conditioning coach. He was a fullback for that team that Patrick Willis was on at Ole Miss. And we used to talk about it all the time. Like, Patrick was the reincarnation of Ray Lewis. He's just faster. And for his career to be, he cut his career short, but he did so much in his career so quickly and was so successful. Of course, he deserves a Hall of Fame nod. If you're going to get Calvin in and Barry in, you got to put Patrick Willis in. Devin Hester, greatest returner of all time. Rookie season, greatest rookie season of all time. Has the most return yards in history. Has the most return touchdowns in history. Punt touchdowns in history. Has the only return touchdown off a kickoff in Super Bowl history in Miami against the Colts. Yeah, he deserved to get in. Absolutely. Oh, but he's just a returner. It doesn't matter. He's the greatest of all time. He's the greatest returner of all time. That's still a position. Shout out to Devin Hester, another UM legend. Dwight Freeney. Man. I mean, when you think about Colts, 2000s, 2010s, defense, it's Robert Mathis, it's Dwight Freeney, it's the spin move. And so many of those great Colts defenses was the head of the snake was Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. And for Dwight to get in, shout out to Dwight. The other two, Steve McMichael, he's suffering from ALS, and he survived to see himself get inducted. Randy Gradishar, I don't know who he is exactly. I apologize. Might be an older player or coach or something like that, but people say D'Amico Ryans got robbed, Watt got robbed, and Reggie Wayne got robbed. Reggie, I understand. Antonio Gates is the big one that people said, like, oh my God, how are you going to keep a top 5 tight end of all time? Most touchdowns by a tight end ever caught. How are you going to keep him off the first ballot Hall of Fame list? But when you look at this Hall of Fame list, like, who are you moving out? Julius Peppers, Andre Johnson, Patrick Willis, Devin Hester, Dwight Freeney. Those were dogs. Not everybody makes it in first ballot. Now, did Antonio deserve first ballot? Absolutely. I think he did. His career was a first ballot career. But, sometimes it doesn't happen. Now, a little bit of NBA and we'll finish. Actually, no, let's talk about the 2025 eligibles for the Hall of Fame. This is going to be a tough one. Eli Manning, Luke Kuechly, Adam Vinatieri, he's going to make it in. Terrell Suggs, Marshall Yonda, Marshawn Lynch, Earl Thomas, Joe Staley, Demarius Thomas, R.I.P., Aqib Talib, Vernon Davis, Darren Sproles, Cameron Wake, former Dolphin great. That's going to be tough. If I had to pick right now, I think Luke makes it in. I think he was a Hall of Fame linebacker. Adam Vinatieri is the greatest kicker of all time and the leading points getter in NFL history. Then you have to, do you go Earl Thomas? I think Earl Thomas is a Hall of Fame. I think Marshawn Lynch. I don't know if he's a first ballot, though. I don't know if Marshawn's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't even know if Earl's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think the only first ballot Hall of Famer in this list, it might be Eli and maybe not. Adam Vinatieri should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my humble opinion. You got Terrell Suggs and Marshall Yonda from those Baltimore Super Bowl days. Adam Vinatieri with the Colts, Luke with the Panthers, Eli with the Giants, Marshawn with the Seahawks, Earl with the Seahawks, Joe Staley with the 49ers, Demarius with the Broncos, Aqib Talib with Tampa Bay, the Patriots, Broncos, Vernon Davis with the 49ers, Darren Sproles with the Eagles and the Chargers, and then Cameron Wake with the Dolphins. Those are the first-time eligibles. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Now, I think that overall, shout out Patrick Mahomes. I love it, man. I love it. I love that I picked him. I love that I didn't doubt him, and I was on pins and needles that whole game. A little bit on the NBA, just quickly, before we get out of here. A little bit on the NBA. So I've been seeing a shift, and I kind of called this shift. Remember, I said the 76ers have to stay afloat. They have to stay afloat. Now with the Buddy Hield trade and everything, they have to find a way to stay afloat. And right now, it is not looking good. Okay, so Boston 41-12. 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row. Cleveland is on a run right now. They're 5 back, so it's still a bit. 35-16, 9 in a row. 9-1 in their last 10. You have Milwaukee still kind of sputtering a little bit. They're 2 games back of Cleveland, 7 games back of 1. And they are 4-6 in their last 10. That's not good. You have the Knicks only 1 game behind Milwaukee at 8 back. They've lost 2 in a row, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. This is without OG. And of course, Julius Randle. Then you have the 76ers at 9.5 back. So you're already a game and a half back of the Knicks. You've already fallen behind. You're 2-8 in your last 10. But Indiana's 11.5 back, so you have 2 games on them. And they're 6-4 in the last 10. So it is so close that they cannot keep slipping. Tyrese Maxey has to, and Buddy Hield and Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre have to save the ship. They have to stay in the top 5, in the top 6. Orlando 12 back. That's a half game back of 6. They've won 2 in a row, 6-4 in the last 10. Miami 13 back, one game back of 7. 2.5 games back of 6. Or 4-6 in our last 10. Chicago 16 back. They're not getting nowhere. Atlanta 17 back. They might switch with Chicago, but one's 5-5, the other one's 6-4. Then you have Brooklyn 19.5 back. Toronto 22 back. Charlotte 29.5 back. Washington 31.5 back. And Detroit 32.5 back. The fact that Detroit can possibly pass Washington for the fifth, what would be the 15th seed, and make Washington the 15th seed after how bad Detroit has played, that'd be hilarious. We go to the West, and it's an absolute crapshoot. Minnesota 6-4 in their last 10. They're first. Half a game back. Clippers. They're 8-2 in their last 10. OKC half a game back. 6-4 in their last 10. Denver, half a game back. 7-3 in their last 10. Then you get to Phoenix at 5. And they're 5.5 games. So they're five games back right now of 1. 6-4 in their last 10. New Orleans, 5.5 games back. So tied with Phoenix. 6-4 in their last 10. Sacramento, 6 games back. Half a game back of New Orleans and Phoenix. 6-4 in the last 10. Dallas, 6.5 games back. Half a game back of 7. A game back of 6. 6-4 in the last 10 with a 4-game winning streak. Then you get the Lakers at 9 games back. That's the separation right there. 2.5 games. And they're 6-4 in the last 10. And Golden State made it to 10. 10 games back, 1 game behind the Lakers, 7-3 in their last 10, with the second best defensive rating in the league the last 10 games. Now, I'm not saying they're going to come back and have a championship year or anything, but what I'm saying is they looks like Draymond's come back, Wiggins looks better, and Kuminga and Steph. I mean, Steph went nuts. I mean, the last 2 games I've seen him, he went for 42 and 11 threes against Indiana, and then, you know, it was beautiful to see him against the Suns get that pass from Pajinski, turn around, and just boom with 0.7 left. And for them to get the foul, and then they had a foul to give, and Draymond stopped Durant at the end of the game. It was lovely to see that win, to see one of those games go their way. Now, I ain't saying they're gonna fully turn it around and they're gonna win 10 in a row or anything like that, but I'm saying, like, it looks like they're turning the corner. Looks like Kuminga finally turned the corner fully to be a 20-point scorer with like 8 rebounds. It looks like Curry's fully back in his rhythm. Now you got to get Klay to hit his shots because he went 2 for 11 in that win against the Phoenix Suns. But the Phoenix Suns were completely healthy. Completely healthy. And that's my worry about the Phoenix Suns. Completely healthy, and you get beat by Golden State, who have been struggling. Pajinski played great. Quinones played great. Like, everybody played good. You know, everybody played good. Utah, they've been on a little struggle, 4-6 in the last 10, but they're a half game back of 10, so you know they're right there. Houston's 13 back, so 2.5 of 11. You know, 3 games out of the play-in. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost their steam. Memphis is 18.5, 2-8. Gigi Jackson, though, playing great. Portland, 21, 3-7. And San Antonio, 26.5, 2-8. Lost 7 in a row. Memphis has lost 8 in a row. Portland has lost 4 in a row. Houston has lost 4 in a row. You know, Golden State has won 4 in a row. 7-3 in the last 10. You know, 6-4 for Dallas. 6-4 for Sacramento. 6-4 for New Orleans. 6-4 for Phoenix. You know, 6-4 for the Lakers. It's going to be tight down the stretch. Very, very tight. And I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it. Thank you for all the support. Like and subscribe. This has been episode 81 of The Exec Talk with El Velez. Super Bowl reaction. Shout out to Patrick Mahomes. Shout out to Chiefs Kingdom. 3 Super Bowls in 6 years. 3 Super Bowl MVPs. One of the greatest of all time. Will ever be, you know, forever be a legend. The official start of the dynasty. And they got more to do. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the support. Share it everywhere. I love you guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I leave you with the outro.